Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
The other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
this one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
The epitome of what this team has done, right? Gavin homers, Jace homers, Braden homers, Chris Cortez, 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
A lot of football on the show today. Olin Buchanan, we go through the phase. I miss OB, and now I'm just angry with OB, enjoying beach life there in Sandestin. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. That's where we find OB, our columnist, our reporter, our social media manager, director, Twitter, you name it. He does it all. OB, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. I have to say pretty busy yesterday. I don't know if it'll be as busy today. I hope so.
Well, different kind of busy, right? Because yesterday was all about A&M, and you know A&M will be in the storylines today. But they all spoke yesterday, right? You had Coach Elko, you had Trev Alberts, you had Buzz Williams all speaking yesterday.
Yeah, and I think Trev is still around. I don't know about the football coaches and basketball coaches. I don't know if they got all their meetings and everything done today. They may still be around, but I think there's an athletic directors meeting still going on, maybe even through Wednesday. In fact, Trev Alberts was the only SEC athletic director that made himself available yesterday.
Is that right?
So what started as was going to be just a gaggle with me and the other two local guys, Brent Zerneman and Travis Brown, ended up being everybody, because the whole national meeting, everybody was looking for somebody to talk about some of the issues that are being discussed by the athletic directors. And Trev made himself available, and it became this swarm of reporters around him.
Well, let's get into that here in a bit. Let's start off with Coach Elko that you got to catch up with yesterday, and one of your columns was about the optimism around this program, and it's not just the way he speaks. It feels like, from what I read from you yesterday, OB, that the fan base has certainly, not only are they always optimistic here in May, but they like the direction he's taking the program.
Yeah, I think that's true. Both things are true. The fan base is always optimistic in May. They almost all are. And then, I asked him, as he's made this tour of Aggie clubs and whatnot, what if he got a feel or a sense for the frame of mind or the emotional state of the Texas A&M fan base. He says, I just feel like they feel optimistic. And that, to be honest, I thought that surprised me just a little bit. I thought maybe he would have said, well, they're a little bit wary or whatever because of the way the last 2 years have gone. But I think just the fact that Mike Elko is here, and we've talked about this over the last several months, but that Mike Elko's in charge, and just some of the moves he's made, and some of the things they've seen is just, rejuvenated that fan base. It was starting to get a little bit beaten down.
Yeah.
Before the change was made.
Yesterday I was at the gym, OB, and a gentleman stopped me, and he's like, we always talk at the gym, and he's like, I know that you think we're closer to a 9-3, 8-4 team. Man, David, I think we're 11-1. He goes, I just can't figure out which that one is. And by the way, I'm not laughing in his face, because obviously you look at the last few years, you can see why they lost games on one or two plays or a coaching blunder or a defensive mishap. I get all that. That's life in the SEC, as we've talked about many different times. But I personally, as a fan, as much as I want to believe that, there's the thing that you and we're very similar here. The eyeball test. Show it to me, baby. Can you show me that you're that team, as opposed to, I think you can be that team because of the talent we have?
I think, I hope that guy's right.
God, me too, bro. I love him.
And, we've talked about that. Every year there's a surprise team, and twice in the last, 13 or 14 years, it's been A&M in 2012 and then A&M in 2020. So maybe it'll be A&M again. There is talent there. Nobody's going to dispute that. Are you really going to think that this A&M team that they're going to put on the field is significantly weaker because Walter Nolan left and Evan Stewart left? Evan, who barely played half the year. Or now, if you were to say that was significantly weaker because you lost Anaya Smith and because you lost Adrian Cooper, I say, okay, you may have a point. But I think most of the detractors around A&M or about A&M are always focused on the guys who left in the portal, because every team loses guys. I'm not ready to, say 11 wins. I'm not even ready to say 9. I'd say 8 sounds pretty good to me at this point. But with the absolute chance to be better, because I think it's going to be a better coach team, a more organized team. I think they'll be better on special teams, which is, significant because special teams, with the exception of Anaya Smith returning punts, was an absolute disaster last year.
Yeah, well, and several areas, and we're going to get into one of those areas here in a minute that needed to be fixed, hopefully have been fixed, because there's been an emphasis on coaching change / philosophy / just some different personnel overall. But you look at this team and you consider what's ahead. The game they open up with, the Notre Dame game, it's interesting how, like, we had Pete Futek on here yesterday who sees them as a potential playoff team and, an opportunity for a banner win for A&M. That's a team that I've seen some people really down on and some people extremely high on, and I guess that's just being Notre Dame. That's what you get when you're Notre Dame. Notre
Dame has issues in the offensive line, as many, if not more, than A&M does. They went heavy into the transfer portal to get tackles and didn't get any, so they're moving guards out to tackles. Guys who have been career backups are being forced into the offensive line. I know they got a good center and a good guard, but overall, they're really concerned about their guards. Their top, I think, if I got this right, their top returning receiver played lacrosse, was a guy that had been there on lacrosse and, went on to football last year because they were in such need and actually did pretty well. And then they have the Jaden Greathouse kid from Westlake over in Austin. But their receivers are good. They're very similar to that situation at A&M. They feel like they're good but unproven. They had a 1,400-yard running back that got drafted. Now, that said, Notre Dame's going to be very good on defense, especially in the defensive line. But if you look at both teams, where their biggest question mark is in the offensive line, and if you look at both teams where their greatest strength is, it's in the defensive line. So that'll be interesting. But I also find this to be something significant. And Mike Elko was asked about it, and he spoke on it yesterday. There's a very good chance that Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame quarterback, could have been the quarterback at Texas A&M, because that was, of course, as you know, he was Mike Elko's quarterback at Duke. And Mike said, hey, we did the dive into our roster, and Connor Wigman's the guy. So Mike Elko felt like, hey, I'm going to stick with Connor Wigman rather than try to get Riley Leonard in, and he's going to face Riley Leonard. So maybe when all said and done, that game's going to be determined by, hey, what was the better quarterback move that Mike Elko made by, sticking with Connor, or did he make a mistake by not, pursuing Riley Leonard?
I was actually surprised to see that. I remember there was a little bit of rumors about that. In my opinion, Riley would be coming here to be the backup to Connor, but maybe it's because I'm so bullish on Connor, but that's in my mind. I remember when there was like a post or two about that, right? Or a tweet about that. I was like, I don't know. I mean, you got Connor here. Unless,
yeah, obviously.
Go ahead.
Obviously, Mike Elko agreed with you.
Yeah. No. Let's get.
Go ahead.
No, please. Usted.
I was just going to say, Mike was asked that by a Alabama reporter from Mobile, and I believe that's where Riley Leonard's from.
Okay.
So, I understand why that question was answered, but Mike said, "Hey, I love Riley. he actually said Riley Leonard is a big reason why I'm at Texas A&M, meaning Riley Leonard was so good, we won enough games that Texas A&M believed in me. He said, so I love the kid. But we looked at our roster. I remember Connor when we were recruiting, and he's the guy.
Well, let's get into some of the things that they improved. And we've talked some sound bites in the past about it, but yesterday, Coach Elko was asked about the offensive line. Let's hear from him before we break it down.
The concept of being a year better, I think, really confident with Adam Cushion. I think he's the best offensive line coach in the country. I think the job he's done with those guys has been great. I think we've been able to add some pieces to it. And I think those guys are very prideful. I don't think they're very excited about the reputation they have in the Texas A&M community for last year. And so I think they're very hungry to change that narrative.
The best offensive line coach in the country. OB, in my limited interactions with Coach Elko, he doesn't seem like the kind of person just to give praise unless now, we all want to, I think you're the best columnist in the country. That's my opinion. You're my guy. I read your work. So if you weren't, I wouldn't tell the people that. Maybe I would if they paid me.
Well, first of all, I'm not. And as far as Adam Cushing goes, let's see. I'm hoping that's true. But is there anything that you don't just love about that soundbite there?
I love it all.
Hey, we got a new offensive line coach. He's the best in the country. We brought in some guys that said, we're going to be better. We brought in some guys to help that. Oh, by the way, those guys know the reputation they have, and people are questioning them and doubting them. And they're a prideful bunch, and they want to prove that, everybody that doubts them wrong. Everything about that quote, I'm loving. Now, we'll love it even more if, they all back that up, comes, September or August 31st.
Ideally, Ruben Father is listening to that and say, people doubt me. My spot's not guaranteed anymore. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dominate this year. I'm going to be a first-round pick because of it, because that's the kind of body size and the potential that I showed when I first got here. He takes a huge step. Mark Naboo takes a huge step. All over the line, Chase Basantis, who thought about leaving, takes a big step, right? There's Trey Zune, the captain, right? He takes a huge step. And then the newcomers.
Yeah, first of all, I think Trey Zune can take a step forward because he's finally going to be, healthy. He's always been playing hurt. I think Basantes can take a huge step forward because he's probably going to be playing inside at guard, probably, where most people think that's where his natural position. And hopefully, and I'm going to say this a little tongue in cheek here, hopefully Ruben Father takes a step back and plays to the level he played as a freshman when he struggled lately. But I'm with you. And we said it before, there are reasons to believe that they're going to be significantly better in the offensive line. If they're significantly better in the offensive line, you can feel good that they'll be significantly better as a team. There are reasons to, and Mike just listed some of them.
Well, look, back to the gentleman who says 11-1. Here's a reason to believe that, if you want to believe, right? Because I know there's some people who don't want to. There's some people love misery. And I don't love 500. I don't love 8-4, mediocre. I don't, right? I just sometimes go there mentally. There's some people who automatically go to 11-1. All your hard games this year are where, OB?
They're at Kyle Field.
And if Kyle Field can feel like blue.
Wait. I say all the hard games. They're all hard.
They're all hard, yes.
Marquee, the ranked opponents, the marquee opponents.
The marquee opponents this year.
LSU, Missouri, and Texas are all at Kyle Field.
Right? So, and if they can borrow a page from the baseball team and just dominate at home, that becomes a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've both been doing this a long time, and it seems like you never want to, or you're foolish to just make a judgment that somebody can't do something. Because too often, you never know what motivates a guy. You never know what were the issues before. By the same token, you don't ever want to assume everything like basketball next year. We'll get into this probably in 6 months. Great chemistry, and almost everybody's back. I think you will lose one significant player off a team that had great chemistry. Does that absolutely mean that next season you're going to have the same chemistry? Probably. But it can't be guaranteed. So you never take anything for granted. But at the same time, I found it too often that if you dismiss and doubt somebody and say they can't do something, a lot of times you end up looking foolish.
Well, going back to Coach Elko about the offensive line being aware of what the what the perception of this offensive line is, it goes back to what you just said right there. When people doubt me, and I'm just a dude, right? I'm not a high-tuned athlete like they are. When they doubt me, I do everything in my power to prove them wrong. You're wired the same way. Those guys that are being doubted are certainly thinking about that, and they better be this offseason. And with Tommy Moffitt as their strength and conditioning coach, I'm sure that's part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. You could probably list about a half dozen reasons to be expecting or optimistic that the offensive line, specifically, could be dramatically improved. Now, doesn't mean they will, but there are reasons to believe it, and I think there are a lot of reasons. And again, Mike touched on that, and one of the biggest ones, again, is mindset. Yep. Those guys know they're doubted. So there's some new guys out there. Let's show them. Let's show them we're not as bad as everybody thinks we are.
OB, we got a lot more football stuff to get into. I do want to get into some basketball, but let's go around the room and say hello to the people. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. 979-693-1150 is the phone number. You can text us on that number. We go behind the glass to say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How you been, buddy?
I've been good.
Yeah.
Just taking in all of the SEC spring media coverage there from OB and everyone. And, I mean, it's kind of weird because, how much can you really read into it? I know it's, a lot of business, I guess, going on there. But the interesting stuff was the Texas and TU game talk, hearing both Sark and Elko kind of give their thoughts on it. And it sounds like they both understand the weight of the game. And that game can't get here quick enough, to be honest with you.
Couple things. It's amazing once spring break happens, how quickly everything happens, right? The NCAA tournament happens, life starts going real fast, right? The spring football game happens, life goes Maroon and White game. Baseball, we're in the playoffs. I still don't understand human beings or why this is considered the spring. I just Googled, spring is until June 20th. It's the summer, guys. It's not spring.
In my own personal clock, summer starts on June 1st.
Okay.
And it ends on September 1st, right? But the whoever made up the rules, it starts on June 21st to September 21st. So everything's always on the 21st.
These rules suck. This says right here on Google, Mr. Google says Tuesday, March the 19th through June 20th. That is spring of this year.
Well, let me tell you, I think it's summer because our air conditioning went out and we called to get it fixed, and they're telling me they can't get the part until Friday. Oh my. You want to ask if it's summer, you try to go to sleep. Poor wife's having to sleep in a swelter, but you try to spend a week without air conditioning in College Station, Texas. That'll tell you it's summer.
OB, you're lucky. You're in Destin right now with air conditioning and a nice hotel.
And I get to come home to a wife that's been trying to sleep. Well, I've been in a nice, comfortable, cool hotel room. I get to come home tomorrow night to a wife that's haven't been, sleeping in a sauna.
AC guys around town listening. 3, 2, 1. Here comes the text for OB.
Call me.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric Casares is there. Hello, Eric. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning. I was hoping I was going to feel a little bit better this morning, David. I was ready. I had my Luka jersey ready on my bed, ready to wear this morning.
Why didn't you wear it?
Well, because we unfortunately didn't end up advancing to the NBA Finals. It goes another game 5.
So what happened last night? Because I was actually at a soccer game, so I didn't get to watch. I saw the Mavs were leading, and then what happened?
Well, they were leading at times, but it never felt like they really got in their rhythm. And obviously, Minnesota was desperate because they had to win, right? Their season was on the line. But I think the biggest difference was Ant and Kat outplayed Luka and Kyrie. Kyrie probably had his worst game that I have seen all series. And the OKC series, he was afraid to shoot. This series, he shot and he just didn't make the shots. And Ant and Kat were just way more efficient. So, that's the way it goes. I mean, if you would have told me a week ago that I was going to be mad because we failed to sweep the Timberwolves, then I would have been like, you're crazy. But here we are. a week later, and I'm mad that we didn't sweep the Timberwolves.
All right, let's get some Aggie news out there. What do you have for us?
Yeah, well, first I got a text message. Matt in Houston said, I think the potential upgrade at center will do us wonders for the entire unit.
I hope so. Whatever that direction ends up going. I mean, we have some ideas, right, OB? But, like, let's get through fall camp because there's still Mark Naboo. There's still several names that you could put in that position.
Why you call it fall camp, David?
You know what? You're right. It's summer camp. Let's be honest.
I just call it August.
August camp.
I call it August.
Yeah. What else, Eric?
Yeah, so going into the Aggie baseball, getting ready to host Louisiana, Texas, Grambling, College Station, Bryan-College Station Regional going in this weekend. There's some history going on between A&M TU in the postseason. I just wanted to mention it. So 2014, TU eliminated A&M in the Houston Regional, and that were the final two teams in that regional. 2018, TU and Indiana eliminated A&M in the Austin Regional. TU went on into the World Series that year. 2022, recently, A&M eliminated the Longhorns from the College World Series. Things are trending upward for A&M. Could have been the third year in a row that they were going to face them in the playoffs, but might be 2 out of the last 3, and all subject to winners and losers bracket. We might not even see Texas this week, but going to be pretty awesome to see if we can get that matchup in the playoffs.
All right, appreciate you, Eric. We'll come back to you here momentarily. BDR on the YouTube page says it's a pretty simple system. High pressure equals high temperatures. Low pressure equals low temperatures. Compress and condense maybe not enough coolant. That's for you, OB. I thought it was about the...
No, we had a part that we had a part break.
I don't even know.
A blade.
A blade.
It's
okay.
a blade.
All right.
So
I don't know what you're doing with blades.
They're just not in a hurry to get it.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. There's some other stuff from Coach Elko I want to get into. I want to hear from Buzz Williams. I want to hear from Trev Alberts. So we'll get into all that here in a moment. Right now, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, you've got your reason. The Association of Former Students is hiring people. If you are in Aggieland and looking for a job, well, you can look there. If you want to move to Aggieland, you can look there. There are positions open in fundraising, former student programs, and much, much more. They are the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or potentially sharing with somebody that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to get all the information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Olin, they're up to something in the back. I don't know what they're up to, but like the employees, the Lukes, the K's of the world, they're up to something. They came in here and asked to take a photo of me standing up.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. There's something going on, and I just want to say it out loud for the audience to know. If they get me, and I kind of hope they do, if they're planning some kind of, Snapchat joke with Billy, or if they're going to do a practical joke on me, they said it's for a research project. Let me just tell you, and you know this about me, OB, whatever they do, I will not only match, I will take it up a notch. That's 100% what's going to happen, right? So I just want to say it out loud to the audience. They're probably going to get me, and they're going to have a nice laugh, and at some point I'll get them back. It may not be today. I want them to think about it, and then I want them to forget, and then I'm going to get them, OB.
You're like Emeril Lagasse. You're going to bump it up a notch. Bam.
The chef guy?
Yeah, going to bump it up a notch. Bam.
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 Believe it or not, never watched Emeril, ever.
Huh. I actually like to watch cooking shows sometimes.
Yeah.
I get ideas.
I'm halfway through the Anthony Bourdain documentary. I didn't realize he got famous in his 40s. Like, he was a chef, but he didn't become famous until he wrote his first book. I didn't realize that.
I didn't even know he was a chef. I thought he was just a guy who had a great gig going around the world eating and drinking, and then he killed himself.
When did this show become The View? I apologize, audience. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio.
Bam.
Go. Sorry?
Bam.
You need to do it with more energy, OB. I didn't like that energy right there.
Bam.
Okay, there we go. By the way, it's the Go Hour. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's presented by somebody.
Presented by CC Creation.
There you go. So let's continue our Coach Elko trek and walk-ons. Not the restaurant, but the thought of walk-ons potentially going away in college football. Before we run the sound, how big of a topic is that there in Sandestin?
Pretty big topic.
Yeah.
Because the idea is they want to. There's this idea, and as they have to cut pricing, costs, and all these things, because now players getting paid. All these. Finally having to have some fiscal responsibility, they're talking about limiting rosters to 85. That, hey, we can only have 85. Now, I don't know why that's the thing that's going to save so much money. I even asked, and I didn't really get an answer, does a walk-on program really cost you that much? Mike Elko, as you heard, is vehemently against the idea. And after, what does A&M become once the home of the 12th man?
We used to be.
Because they're saying, well, hey, we don't want anybody that would be, quote, the 12th man. I know we got 85. We understand. But the point is that the guy on the 12th man is always a walk-on.
Yeah. How about home of the 85th man?
Yeah, because you're not going to have 86.
Yeah.
And they're all only the scholarship players. Sure would seem to me, and they don't want to hear this, sure would seem to me it'd make more sense, and I don't want them to do this, but to reduce the number of scholarships and then to maintain your walk-on program. But what do I know?
Well, let's hear from Coach Elko yesterday talking about that exact topic right there, walk-ons. What's going to happen, Mike?
I'm strongly against it. I think it's absolutely against college football, what it stands for, what it's about. I think that'll be a major problem, especially when you look at legacies of Texas A&M kids that are going to get the opportunity to play football at Texas A&M potentially taken away from them. And I think that's something that's really bad for the sport.
So first off, I need to apologize. I can't call him Mike. I'm not on a Mike level with him. It's Coach Elko, so I apologize. I can't.
He's a pretty down-to-earth guy. You can call him. He never thinks nothing of it.
But I feel like I didn't mean it. I meant respect. Here's Coach Elko with his thoughts on walk-ons. Couple thoughts on here. Derrick Henry says it's okay. We don't need walk-ons. It's the fabric of what I think college sports is about. And if we're really going to go to this NFL model and start alienating people, and I think, by the way, that is an attachment. Somebody on this show said it. Maybe it was you, OB. Maybe it was one of our social center people. But, that is a connection with the student body. You said that, right?
It is, because you can be just a regular student, not on scholarship and everything, and come out and, walk on and still be part of the team. You might be the 12th man guy. You might end up getting drafted like Cullen Gillespie. Think about that. Under this idea, this this proposal, suggestion, whatever you want to call it, Cullen Gillespie never would have played for Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I mean, would J.J. Watt have ever played for Wisconsin? Probably. But just
the idea of somebody that, like, to me, that's, I don't want to call it the American dream, but follow me here for a moment. It'll be like the thought of at 20 years old or 19 years old, you have not developed. I'm thinking about my boys right here, right? My sons want to play college soccer. They would love to. They're developing at an okay rate, but physically they have not matured like a lot of the people they play with. What if they don't mature until they're 20, right? That the whole idea of a walk-on to me is some people grow at a different rate, and I'm not saying necessarily physically either, mentally, acumen. Like there's a lot of football IQ. A lot of things click a little bit later on for people, and by eliminating a potential avenue for them to get better at their craft, to me is a sad state of affairs for college athletics.
It is, and to your point, I know he wasn't a walk-on, but just to your point, David Robinson went to the Naval Academy. He was 6'4", and then he grew to 7 feet afterwards. After he got there, at least that's what I read. But I think the walk-on situation or the walk-on program, Nebraska built its program, a big part of its program back in the day on its walk-ons. We never would have had the movie Rudy.
Yep. Got a text about that right now.
They never would have had the movie Rudy had they and I don't know when I say that, I don't know which side I'm arguing for. but I think that would be a big mistake. There's got to be other ways around. If you're trying to save money, I would think the first thing you do is make sure you never get yourself in a position where you're paying coaches not to coach.
Well, I do think something that Commissioner Sankey said yesterday probably holds true. Let's slow down. These are talking points that don't necessarily mean we're going to go that direction, right?
Yeah, but he was also asked about that, how realistic that could be. And I'll probably include this in the column today. And he said, well, let me just say what I said at the beginning of my introductory press conference. Changes are coming, or things that are changing.
Well,
so he didn't say, I don't think it's impossible. He just said, changes are coming.
Get used to it, guys. This is going to be a different world. Yep. And it's just happening. But again, we can spend hours on this, Obi, but I don't even think once all this is ratified and accepted and we move on, like there's still going to be evolution of what we're seeing from a year from now. When the 25 season comes and all these changes are implemented, let's say it happens by then, which is the expectation, they're still going to change. There's going to be so many moving parts over the next few years. I don't know if we're going to get a final answer.
Well, you're probably right. It'll be fluid. It'll always be tinkered with until they feel like they've got it right. College sports never gets it right on the first try.
Well, when we come back on TexAgs, we're going a little slower on some of these topics, but we're letting it marinate, OB. We're going to talk about the rivalry with Texas. We will certainly do that. We'll hear from Sark. We'll talk a little bit about what Coach Elko had to say about it. I want to hear from Buzz. And also, Trev Alberts had a commentary about getting more revenue and why that 9-game schedule that they're not going to talk about this year or next year may have to come sooner than what Commissioner Sankey wants. Right now, though, we're talking about Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. They make documentary films about your family. So yesterday, somebody called into the front office asking about Heritage Films. They wanted the information. So I'm going to start the spot with the phone number so you can write it down, and then I'll do it again at the end. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341 or yourheritagefilm.com. You can call that number right now. Chance McClain will answer, and you can get a documentary done about your family. And I'm telling you, you need to do it before it's too late. And I say that because I've heard from people that have waited too long, and I've also heard from people like, thank you for that recommendation. We did it, and we only had X amount of time left with our family. And it's not just for like, older folks in the family. You can do it for a family business, a family ranch, family get-togethers, golf outings with your buddies. There's so many different ways you can do a heritage film. those are just some of the options. You may have some ideas yourself. You can also do a year flicks, which is a benchmark video, 20-minute version of that same kind of style, but more Q&A, more for the youngers, right? So freshman year of high school, sophomore year, you do another one. Junior year, they get their driver's license, and yada, yada, yada. You know how it works, right? For my kids, they're going to be juniors getting their license. And then you can get one with their Aggie ring, 4-part story right there. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Shall we hear about the rivalry, Texas A&M versus the Sips? I got in trouble yesterday for not calling them the Sips. Versus Texas. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, as expected, Coach Elko had a nice soundbite, if you will, about taking on the University of Texas. He thinks this is how it should be.
David, this is going to be Sark, actually.
Well, I was talking to OB.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was a pause there. I thought you wanted the sound.
Well, because OB was marinating the thought.
I didn't know if we were going to that, but he does, and quite frankly, he should. I was against it for a while because I think Texas needed it, and then when Texas started trying to go through the media to try to strong arm into doing it. You have to basically, and you're scared. I always thought that was the dumbest narrative of so many dumb narratives that come out of there when they were saying, hey, here's a team that left to play Alabama and LSU and Auburn on a consistent basis, but was afraid to play Texas. That was just stupid. So it made me not want to play them because they wanted it. And it was going to help them. But now that they're in the conference, heck yeah, play. And
well, it has helped them, OB, too. I mean, entering the SEC, which in turn means they're playing A&M all the time, has significantly helped them.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jordan, yeah, absolutely. But they needed A&M, and they wanted that A&M game back because, quite frankly, their home schedule was awful. They had no marquee game to sell.
Yep.
Because their other big game is played in Dallas every year.
All right, let's hear from Sark, who I guess I didn't hear it. I read it, but it seemed like he gave equal props, if you will, to Arkansas and A&M. Let's listen to Sark breaking it down.
I did. I'll be honest with you. I've been part of some great rivalries in college football. And I know there was so much talk about realignment, and I know realignment looks different for every school. But for us, we gained two rivals back, right? We're playing Arkansas again, which is great for Texas Longhorn and Longhorn Nation. We get A&M back. And so you're talking about the game with A&M, you're talking about houses divided, you're talking about decades of tremendous games in Thanksgiving weekend. And so to get that game back, I know we're looking forward to it. I'm sure A&M is too. I've got a ton of respect for Coach Elko. We competed against one another when he was a defensive coordinator at A&M and I was an offensive coordinator at Alabama. And he's got really good scheme, really good players, and I think he's going to do a really good job there.
I remember the last time they went against each other at A&M.
When was that, David?
October 9th, 2021, I believe it was the date, if I remember that correctly.
What happened that day, David?
That's the day that A&M won 41-38. That's also the day wait. Am I getting it wrong? I'm thinking Bill O'Brien. No, I'm wrong. 41-38 was Bill O'Brien. So there you go.
O'Brien.
Yeah, I messed that one up.
That's all right.
Because I was thinking to myself, I remember that day clearly, and then I'm like, oh wait, Bill O'Brien's the one who made those terrible calls, which were great in the red zone.
Look, Sarkisian's done a good job.
He's done a really good job. Yeah.
Yes, and I think Mike Elko, like Sarkisian said, is going to do a great job at A&M, and it's going to be a classic matchup. I hope they hire extra security that day, and I'll look forward to it. But there's so many other games to look forward to before then. For me, Texas is not the be-all, end-all game. I understand how important it is to Aggies, especially old Ags, and I get it. It's a big rivalry, and I'll look forward to it. And I'll think that A&M has a great chance to win it, just as I think A&M's going to have a great chance to win every game.
I thought Sark's record was a little closer to 500, but according to Sports Reference, his career record as a head coach is 59% as a head coach.
Well, he just had a great year last year, so you add that on that. But if you looked at what his record before this year, or before this 2023 season, it was around 500.
Yep. Are you a believer, because we were having this discussion yesterday with Pete Futek, how much should last season matter in coaching rankings? So your most recent season for recency bias, or should it be the career, right? Like when you're breaking down coaches, I think there's a little bit of both. It's a tap dance based on, I think, the trajectory of the program.
Well, I think if you're, it depends on how you're ranking. Are you ranking the current coaches?
Yeah.
Then that because, is Dabo Swinney still the first or second best coach in college football? I mean,
it looks like he's losing his fastball.
He hasn't adjusted to it seems like, the NIL and transfer portal.
Yep.
And that's part of being a coach now. And his teams aren't as good. They're still really good, but they aren't as good. Is he still? Now, would I say Eli Drinkwitz over him? Well, Drinkwitz had a better year last year, but in terms of the career, so I'd say no.
Right.
But you can always look at it. You can find somebody. Hey, is somebody an emerging coach and somebody a declining coach? And the declining coach has But look, for instance, there was a time when you used the word losing a fastball, where Bobby Bowden or Joe Paterno had lost their fastball.
Yep.
Without a doubt. So would you have ranked them as the top 4 or 5 or even a top 10 coach? So if you would, based on their career, you would, but among current coaches at that time, probably not. So, I don't even call it recency bias. I just think that if things look equal and one guy you have to ask yourself, do you think this guy was he a one-hit wonder like Sam Pittman?
Well,
is he a guy who's trajecting upward?
I kind of want to see Dabo do great this year. There's a part of me because I think he's making a mistake not evolving. I really do. But it would be cool to see. I'm sticking to my guns. I don't believe in building your team through the portal and however he wants, and they still find a way to win. It is the ACC. It's not the SEC. I get that. I think it would be a cool story to be like, look how I did it. But I don't expect that to be the case because the team they're competing against is built completely through the portal in Florida State.
We'll see. You mentioned the Florida State. How would you rank that coach?
So I don't have Pete's rankings in front of me, but I believe he was in the top 10. He's had 2 really good years back to back. So 2 years ago, he wouldn't be in your top 50, right? But I think they're a program that is trending in the right direction. Doesn't seem like a one-hit wonder. I go back to your Missouri comp right there with Eli Drinkowitz. There's a part of me that wants to see more from Eli. Was it just a one-year thing, or are they really building this? And I think Mike Norvell is actually, he figured after there was patience there at Florida State with him after a couple of really bad years, and it seems like he figured it out, got the right talent in there, and he's an example of patience can work.
Well, I think the ultimate guy to ask yourself about this is it recency bias? We just talked about Steve Sarkisian.
Yep.
I wonder. I know you said you don't have the list.
I think he was 14th on the list. I think he was 14th. Yeah, on that list.
Okay, so
I think that's fair.
He got a bump for last year.
Yep.
But they didn't go all in on his career because his career, like we said, was 500 until last year.
Well, I did take exception, and not to turn the segment into this, but I didn't agree. He had Coach Elko 44, I believe, and he said the reason is not because he doesn't think he'll be higher, but there isn't enough experience there for me to put him in the top 20. And I can respect that. I disagree, but I can respect that thinking.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what, I would like Mike Elko to be ranked in the top 10 based, on what he did at A&M as opposed to what he did at Duke, right?
100%.
So if he's a top 20 team guy because he did it at Duke, that still doesn't matter to me because, look, what did we just experience before Elko?
Oh, I remember.
I
remember Jimbo, and in the beginning, I fought for it. In the middle, I fought for it. Even after 8-4, I was like, he's still a top 10 coach. I didn't.
Lost his fastball.
He 1,000% lost his fastball.
He was Jose Lima.
Jose Lima was good, bud, but he did lose his fastball too.
What was he good at the end?
No, not the same pitcher.
That's my point.
He had that 1 year where he went 19-7 or 19-1, and he was fantastic. A Cy Young. I'm going too much into history, but no, I know exactly what you mean. You're right. And when we all saw it happening, it didn't. We all saw it, right? But he also sped it up because, like Dabo, he did not evolve, right? Had he evolved a little bit, his time at A&M would have been here. He would have been here today.
I've said it before. I still believe had he let Bobby Petrino actually run the offense and make changes to the offense, Jimbo Fisher would probably still be your head coach.
All right, let's hit a break here because we're way late. Milliken Reserve Time, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on that beautiful land that Milliken Reserve can be found on, creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for each other. They've got 2,600 acres of open space farms, 30 miles of trails, and beautiful homes out there. And when we talk about those homes, 3 beautiful neighborhoods. You got the creek. Those homes are on 10-plus acre wooded estates. You've got the hollow in a private and gated community that connect directly to nature. And you've got the meadows, homes that are responsive to their natural surroundings. It is a beautiful place. You've got to learn more at millikenreserve.com, or just go out there and enjoy it in person. Go out there for a walk, go out there for a fish, or to go fishing, I should say. millikenreserve.com is the website, millikenreserve.com. Go Hour coming to a close here on TexAgs Radio, presented by the Warehouse of CC Creations. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. OB, we didn't get into it, so I'm sure tomorrow it can come up. But Buzz Williams, one of the conversation points that you had and the media had with him was about his success rate at the transfer portal, and he's expecting big things from the 3 that he's added.
Yeah, it is amazing that Buzz can get criticized on certain things, but one thing you can't criticize him is what he's done in transfers. With guys like Anderson Garcia and Boots and Henry Coleman and Dexter Dennis and even Jace Carter, and all of them are really good guys too. So you just wonder when you get finished playing in like late March, and yet you get all these guys within probably a month or so that you've added 6 weeks. Man, it's really impressive, because especially if those guys prove to be the same caliber of people, not just players, as the guys he's gotten before. I wonder, you got to have a system and a formula to figure that out, to be able to add guys like that so fast.
Thank you, Olin. You back tomorrow on Zoom?
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. We'll see you then. Appreciate you.
I'll be there Friday.
Coming back on TexAgs Radio, John Harris, the professor. We'll see him next here on TexAgs. When I think of Akon and Young Jeezy, I think of John Harris. They just go hand in hand. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers for All Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. There is Juan Haris from the Houston Texans, their sideline reporter, and, of course, footballtakeover.com. What's up, Johnny?
What's going on, David? Yeah, you can play Akon and Young Jeezy for me. I'm cool with that.
Buddy, I know this about you.
I was going to Shazam that, and then you told me, so I can just it makes it easy.
Well, I know this about you. You listen to all types of music, right? You're multi-genre guy.
I am multi-genre guy. I have my lane is 90s R&B.
Okay.
That's kind of my lane where I like to be there. 90s R&B, but I definitely paid attention to Drake and Lamar, Drake and Kendrick beef. I paid attention
Kendrick's
to that.
destroying him, for the record.
Right. But I like Drake. I like both of them, man. I feel bad. I feel like these are two guys I like, and they're going at one another. But I like my musical tastes are all over the board. And I say this, and I know I'm on TexAgs, and I know I'll get absolutely hammered for this. But the one music genre that just never stuck for me,
don't say
country.
Don't say it.
I'm sorry. It just never stuck for me for whatever reason.
You're talking to Mr. Country Music, John.
What's that?
I'm Mr. Country Music.
No, you're not. But
yes, I am.
That's okay.
No, I am.
You don't lie. David, you don't lie to your friends.
Buddy.
You don't lie to your friends.
I'll playlist right here for you, buddy. Zach Bryan all day.
Man, College Station has changed you.
Yeah, I don't have Red Wings. I don't do that. But anyway. By the way, listen to Euphoria. That's all I got to say. Just listen to Euphoria. You'll like it.
Oh, yeah. Euphoria. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that was one hell of a beef, man. I mean, I don't like seeing great artists go at one another like that, but I kind of do, because if that's the result, the music we get out of it, it's like I'm all for that.
I would love to see that kind of beef in the country music world. Chris Stapleton going after somebody. That would be awesome.
Your mama's potato salad is mayo based and should be. I mean, there's a lot of things you could go with that.
Oh, my gosh. Johnny, so Callie Gardner works for us. She does a great job. She had a topic. I should have sent it to you beforehand so you could put your eyes on it. But she had a great topic. She wanted to know which baseball regional, and I don't know how much you've been following the college baseball regionals that are coming up, would be the hardest in college football. So I'm going to read you a couple of them just so you can kind of.
Okay.
So baseball teams, but football
right.
mindset, okay? Football teams, all right?
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I wrote down the ones that I think are the most difficult. The College Station Regional, one of those. You've got A&M. You've got Grambling. You've got Louisiana. You've got Texas. Okay? That's I think, a difficult one if it was football.
Yeah.
The Chapel Hill Regional. North Carolina, obviously. LSU. Wofford, known for their basketball, unfortunately. And who else am I missing? LIU. I'll give you one more. Fayetteville. You've got Arkansas, Southeast Missouri, and Louisiana Tech, and Kansas State. From those options, Johnny Harris, football thinking, which would be the hardest football regional?
I mean, I think College Station. I think people oftentimes forget how good Louisiana is. Now, things are going to change, as we talked about last week, how things are going to change, with the football divisions. I think there could be more and more division between what we call, group of five or group of six and the Power Five, or however you classify Pac-12, but you know what I'm talking about. I think there's probably going to be a bigger chasm between those two. But I do feel like Louisiana is one that gets kind of lost, and they get a lot, obviously, of players from the state of Louisiana and kind of the Beaumont, East Texas area that go to Louisiana. They put out some serious NFL talent, and in particular, they put out players on the offensive line. So Louisiana kind of gets lost in that. Now, if LIU doesn't have a football team, but North Carolina, LSU, Wofford's pretty good. Wofford is a step down from there, but Wofford's a pretty good program. In fact, I had a player, one of my players ended up playing football at Wofford. Didn't end up playing a lot, but Wofford's a pretty good program. I'll tell you, this one's pretty good, David. Stetson, I don't even remember Stetson as football, but Florida State, UCF, Alabama in the is that the Florida State Regional? Yeah, that's a pretty salty one. That's pretty good. Florida State, UCF, Alabama. I just don't know what Stetson brings to the party from that perspective. So I would say one of the things is you got to have all four teams play football, and there are a lot of these in which, like the Georgia Regional, you got Georgia, Army, Georgia Tech.
Yep.
But then you got UNCW, which is kind of a running joke in Wilmington. I had a buddy of mine who played on their very first NCAA basketball tournament team at Wilmington. And there's always this joke on campus about UNC Wilmington's football team was undefeated. It was because they didn't have one. And so that was always kind of the running joke there. But that's a pretty good one too. Well, that's a really good question. And it feels like every single regional has got like one team that doesn't have a football program, because obviously baseball, different. Except, for down at the College Station Regional. Man, that's going to be one hell of a regional. I mean, you're just coming off a weekend in which A&M and Texas softball played one another in a regional that was, incredible. Super regional is incredible. Now you have the possibility if Texas beats Louisiana, A&M beats Grambling, and all of a sudden they're playing in that first round winners bracket game. Oh my God, that's gonna be incredible. And I would imagine that, I don't know, maybe Aggies don't want that, but I would imagine if I was Aggie, that's exactly what I would want, is to see Texas in that second round for sure, in that winners bracket game.
Hey, by the way, somebody called the Bryan Broadcasting to complain about rap music being played, so we're going to go polka the rest of the show, Johnny, just so you're aware. Only polka music, cool. just so that person can, make them happy, to feel included, because we're in a show that includes people. So polka music, the rest of the show.
I'm from Richmond Rosenberg, where there is a heavy population of Czechs. So, Czechoslovakian polka,
Russian pop could be our number 3, to be honest with you. So that's all going to be in the mix. John, so Coach Elko talked yesterday about the offensive line, and that is a huge question for Texas A&M based on the last few years, right? I want you to put your coaching hat on and look at the personnel that that they have. I know they brought in some new players that maybe you haven't studied, but how quick of a fix can the offensive line be? When you saw them the last few years and the way they were coached and the scheme that they were in, can this be, if they had a D last year, I'm just giving a grade, C-, D, whatever, right? Can they be a B+ this year? Can they be an A-? Like, how quick of a transition from a philosophy based on maybe some of the new players, but the existing players especially?
I think coaching has a ton to do with things, especially in college. I think coaching has an absolute ton to do with it. And, it really kind of crystallized for me when I was talking to Billy. We were at Pro Day and we were watching Layden Robinson. And I remember watching Layden in 2021. And I ended up putting him in my 2022 NFL draft, Harris 100. I'm like, that guy is a dude. Long arms, good build, plays with power and leverage. I love the way that he played. I loved it. I didn't see that over the next couple of years. And I'm like, why? Why didn't I see that? With a guy that talented and a guy that physically gifted, why didn't it come together? And look, there were some injuries. But you look at a dude as talented as Chase is, and you watch Layden Robinson, and you just go, what's not work? There's something not working here. Now, you can look at Jimbo turning play calling over to Petrino and what that was all about. And I just don't think this offensive line had the right message from the top that filtered into a really great offensive line coach or offensive line staff, whether you had assistants, whatever. I think that coaching can end up making a huge difference for this group, because it's hard to look at this group and go, ooh, there's no talent there. No. I don't agree with that. Now, is it first round talent across the board? No, I wouldn't say that either. But I do think it is young guys that need to be kind of led in a particular direction. Hey, this is the way we do things. And when things aren't going well, make things easier for a young and inexperienced offensive line. That's what I thought last year. I felt like, hey, there are some spots here where they should be better than what they are. This group is more talented, but they weren't getting that. I feel like coaching consistency from Elko on through Colin, on through the offensive staff with the offensive line is going to help that group get better and better. And I think that is going to make a massive difference. And I go back to this, David. In 2018, and this is an NFL example, but I think it can be used here. In 2018, we went up to Indianapolis and we played the Indianapolis Colts. And both teams were not doing well at the time. And in that game, we got ahead big. We were up 28-10. And the Colts just started chucking. They were throwing the ball all over the place. Andrew Luck ended up throwing it 62 times. And the next week they ended up playing, I can't remember who it was, and they went back to throwing it like 50 times. And finally, Chris Ballard went to Frank Reich and said to Frank, listen, you've got rookie Quentin Nelson at guard. You got second-year Ryan Kelly at center. You got rookie Braden Smith at tackle. You got to let these dudes fire off the ball and hit somebody. You got to. You got to let them go forward and not back. And so Frank went to a little bit more of a run-based system, run-based play-action system, and he let those young dudes fire off the ball and hit somebody in the mouth. And all of a sudden, that offensive line went from being a major question mark to being one of the best in the league, even with two rookies and a second-year guy at center. And they changed everything. And I think that story goes to show that, you know what? You got to find what's right for your offensive line first. So if you want to be this throw-it-around offense, you got Connor Wigman as your quarterback, and you could throw to a number of talented receivers, and that's all well and good. But you've got to be able to give the young offensive line the opportunity to go hit somebody in the mouth, because they've got to get that aggression out. And if you can establish that, and you establish a physicality like they did in 2020, it changed the program. It really did. And they got to that run-based system, and all of a sudden play action starts being more effective with Kellen Mond back in 2020. And I tell you, Connor Wigman's going to love having a running game. So I think if you're able to run the ball and make a concerted effort to run the ball, however they're going to do it, they've got some dudes up front that'll punch you in the mouth. And that becomes the identity. And then off of that, you become play action. You can run some of your RPO stuff, all that. But I think you have to get that group up front into kind of mauler mode and then let them adjust, because that will help them. If all of a sudden they're hitting people in the mouth, those guys, those defensive linemen are thinking, oh man, I better get ready. And that half step is all that it needs, all they need to be able to then work their technique and then be good pass protectors. So I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think better coaching, maybe a change in a physical philosophy. I just kind of felt like the offense was kind of rudderless the last couple of years. I mean, in 2022, you got Jimbo with 5 different flip cards. And it's like, wait a second, hold on. And then last year, you got the Petrino Jimbo thing that's going on. So now you've got consistent coaching, hopefully tone at the top that's filtering down, and everybody's on one page, supporting everybody with some talented dudes that have got to grow and grow together. So I think it can end up being a much better offensive line, but those things have to come together. And one of them might be, hey, how do we help out this offensive line? We got to run the football. I mean, it's kind of chicken egg argument, but I think if you open up this offensive line's physicality, I think you can end up giving this offense an opportunity, this offensive line an opportunity to be really, really good, because now they're punching people in the mouth. They gain confidence from that. And then pass protection at that point is a lot easier than it would be if you want to be pass first, and that's the way you're going to go about things. So I think this offensive line has still got a lot of talent to it, and I think they'll be ready to roll. Now, it won't be perfect, and Notre Dame's going to challenge it because they're coming with Howard Cross, and that dude is a monster inside. So they're going to have some issues. Riley Mills, Notre Dame's got some dudes. So one of the ways to slow them down, they're not big. They're both, Howard Cross is 280 pounds. You hit them in the mouth to start the year, and you kind of run the ball a little bit better against Notre Dame, you got a better chance because now you're not throwing at Benjamin Morris. So I think all things kind of work in the favor of A&M's offensive line being better the more physical it's asked to be in the run game.
Johnny, so yesterday, Coach Elko was asked about Riley Leonard. There was a moment that he thought about, what it would look like at A&M, and obviously he likes what he has in Connor Wigman. He's decided to stay there. So I want you to compare and contrast both of those quarterbacks when they're at their best. Just what do you like about them? What are some areas they need to grow this year?
Well, I think for Wigman, to me, he's I don't want to call him a pocket passer, but about Connor and the way they think about CJ. CJ will run when he needs to, but he doesn't run all the time. But if you end up dropping 8 into coverage and rush just 3, CJ will make you pay. He'll go scramble for 8 to 10 yards. But you're not going to design any quarterback run plays for CJ. I don't know how many quarterback run plays they'll design for Connor. But Riley Leonard has to have designed quarterback run plays because he doesn't hurt you enough as a passer. So with Leonard, you would have to run more quarterback, whether it's RPOs, but you'd have to run quarterback. And that's really, unfortunately, what got him hurt at Duke is he just took too many shots. And then he ended up, I think, hurting his ankle. I think it was against Notre Dame, but I think that was on a pass. But either way, to maximize Riley Leonard's capabilities, you would have to have designed quarterback runs. Now, if there's anybody that's going to know about that, it's going to be Colin Klein. So that wouldn't be a terrible fit. I think, Connor, you might have a couple of design just to keep defenses honest. But Riley Leonard, you're going to run those 5, 7, 8, maybe even 9 times in a game. Whereas with Connor, you might do it once or twice as a changeup. And I think that's the difference. I think Connor is a much better and much more accurate thrower from a decently clean pocket than Leonard's going to be. Now, Leonard can make all the throws, but so can Connor. They both, similar arm strength. But to maximize Riley, you're going to have to use all those RPOs in quarterback run game. I don't think you have to do that with Connor. I think Connor can be very, very good eventually with play action, boots, keepers, those kind of things thrown on the move. You have to do that with Riley Leonard, but you have to mix in that run game to get full maximum impact. Because if you didn't have that, like look at Riley's games last year. Some of his best games, I want to say the Duke game, he threw for like 100-something yards. Like that was it. But it was his run game that really kind of kept them in it. That eventually breaks down. Connor Wigman, staying away from that as much as Leonard, I think can stay healthy, hopefully. Obviously last year notwithstanding, hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully offensive line is better. But they're not taking as many risks with him running the football than you would with Riley Leonard if he were here.
Johnny, great stuff as always, buddy. Thank you so much. Anything new on footballtakeover.com?
Yeah. I've just posted I got every offensive position but the interior offensive line. I call it my Nifty Harris 50. I've broken down each position as it pertains to the 2025 draft. So I've got all those up there: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and just posted tackles and tight ends. So that's all up there. Interior offensive line is coming either tonight or tomorrow. So I got all that kind of prepping to get my offseason kind of study done, and then I'll start posting some college preview stuff. It'll definitely be exciting, that's for sure.
Appreciate you, sir. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. See you, buddy.
See ya. Hey, you know what I might do? I might start reaching out to like ESPN and Fox and everybody and start complaining about the music they're playing. I think that's probably what I'm going to start doing. Because goodness gracious, let's keep this all one type of genre. Hush and Whisper time, the distilling company, innovative distillery, cocktail lounge, founded to defy convention and distill true grain-to-glass spirits. They win awards because they're awesome, right? They've been around for just a little over 6 months, and if you haven't been there in downtown Bryan, you're missing out there in the Versco building. It is awesome. It feels old school, but new school. It feels like you're out of town, but you're right here in Bryan-College Station. They make their white whiskey there, the original vodka, the original gin, milled, fermented, distilled, bottled right there in Bryan, Texas, with the finest local ingredients committed to the highest quality of production. They're sharing more than an exceptionally crafted spirit. They want to create an experience for you. And I went and I had a blast out there, and I don't even drink. Like, I had such a good time learning about the process of how they make their whiskey and just seeing the science and then the tasting, right? The tastings are great. So you can reserve a tour, you can get a tasting, you can just do a tasting, you can book an event, you can have meetings, celebrations, team building out there, come in for a cocktail, maybe even a mocktail out there, buy a bottle, experience it at home. It is something that you will really, really enjoy here in town. It is 219 North Main Street. I think you're going to love it. Do something different. Experience the experience. There you go. That's good English by me. Experience and enjoy the experience there at Hush and Whisper. Wonderful place to bring out-of-town guests. So if anybody's coming in this weekend, you should check it out. It is Hush and Whisper, the website, hushandwhisper.com. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Having some fun here in studio. Trisha Ford is here. Hello, Trisha. How are you?
Howdy. I'm here.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's probably multiple emotions going on for you. So proud and so close, yet...
Yep, pretty much, sums it up. I think, we left it all on the field. Just a tremendous effort, tremendous games. All 3 games were tremendous. And, we're one pitch, we're one defensive play, we're one hit away from still playing. So, but I always say you got to love the hard. This is hard, and it's going to help motivate us for next year.
Being so close, I assume it makes it more frustrating, yet also teachable. Like, look, we make this play, this game goes differently.
Yeah, it is. And it's just, for me, at the end of the year, we really started to play some of our best ball, and we could feel it. The team could feel it. So we're in, obviously, exit meetings yesterday and today, and we're all talking about it. And so that's going to help us, though, next year of, like, just picking up where we finished and being able to kind of take that into the next year.
Not a fair question for you, but I'm going to ask because, that's what I do. I'm a talk show host. Can you take a step back and appreciate the beauty that was that series, even though it was your team on the losing end? But, like, people were talking about it that don't follow. Like, people were all in.
Yeah, we got so many text messages and just phone messages of just, like, that was the best super regional series I've ever seen. Yes, I can. Just because I love our sport. Like, you saw 2 teams battling to the last, breath, basically. And I think anybody who appreciates sports can appreciate, a series like that.
I think for those who have been watching, nothing surprised us, right? Like the Maya home run, which surprising because it was her, but not really because your team fights to the end, right?
Yeah, we talked about that. I think before I left here, I said, I like our chances. Like, I think we might surprise some people. I mean, before the series, everybody was like, oh, it's 16 seed against a 1 seed, and I'm like, nah, I know who we are. And yeah, just some of these memories that these seniors and even our regular, just our returning players got to experience this past, weekend. Like, that's going to be with them forever, and it's going to drive them. And so I knew we had a shot. Like, I knew we had a really good shot, and I think you saw it, and just we couldn't kind of, get over.
So let's go back to the Maya home run for a moment, because I was surprised. I didn't know this, and I think they said it on the broadcast, and Kay certainly told me that was her first extra base hit, and it just happened to be the biggest hit of her career. Hopefully many more are coming. But.
Yeah, that's a good time to pick it, right? Yeah. And she crushed that ball. Yeah. I mean, and then for me, what I really loved was seeing how excited the team was for her when she came home. And there's just so many good things. And I'll probably watch the games here the next couple of days again and get some more tidbits out of it. But there was just so many times, we have Haley Golden, we call them our special teams base runner. Like, she gets the go-ahead run on Friday. Just little things that are helping us win ball games. And so there's just a lot of teachable moments.
How do you digest after a game, right? Like I stay away. Like, I don't want anything to do with sports. Like, I become anti-sports guy when my teams lose. Like, but this is, you've got to start working the moment after. How do you kind of digest and process what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't really slept, I'll be honest with you. So I'm still my brain's still going 20 miles an hour, or actually 200 miles an hour. But I will take a couple days. We kind of get into end of year meetings. I have a bunch of seniors coming. They came to the office yesterday, and it was so cute. They're like, Coach Ford, we just want to be here. And I'm like, I want you here too. Like, just sat in the chair. So they're going to come hang out with me a little bit today after meetings. And you're just trying to kind of find your way again. Like, you have to kind of catch your breath. And so, I don't know, it's just a little mixture of everything. And obviously the portal's opened up. And so we're back at that and trying to, raise money for NIL and, just kind of life goes on.
Keeps going.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So Tyler sent me some notes. Trinity Cannon at the Super Regional obviously was phenomenal. 5 of 9, 2.359 OPS, 3 home runs, 1 double, 8 RBI, 4 runs, hit by a pitch 3 times, 1 walk. Just incredible numbers there.
Yeah, I just, again, your heart as a parent, obviously I'm a coach, but a parent, to see her go out her career like that, like you can't ask for anything more. I mean, Julia Cottrell hitting a home run in her last at-bat. Rylan Wiggins, great at-bats. Defensively, just out of this world. Shaylee Ackerman coming in and pitching a great game on Sunday. I mean, just a lot of our seniors coming through big time and showing them what it's like to be an Aggie.
Did it feel like a lot of respect between the two programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were like, holy smokes.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we're coming for you. Yeah. So, Coach White, obviously he's done a good job. We've spent a lot of time together across the field because he was at Oregon when I was at Stanford, and then obviously ASU. But, we both want to kick each other's butt.
Yeah,
so,
that's the way it should be, right? So another note on Trinity that I found that Tyler sent me, her first 2 years, 260 batting average and a 19.38 strikeout percentage. These last couple years, 330, 660 slugging percentage, and a 13.54 strikeout percentage. Just continuous growth.
Yeah, I think, last year you saw a lot of good growth with her and Coach Harger, and she started off through really hot, and then she kind of cooled down, and they had a really honest conversation about it, like, hey, what's going on, and what do you think? And so they kind of game planned a little bit different this year. And then there was a time this year where she started to kind of slide a little bit. And they, again, both of them nipped it in the butt, had a conversation and, hey, this is what we're going to do. You're getting away from these very simple things. We, write down, journal when things are going well. And she did. She just, she performed at a crazy rate for us.
44 wins, the most was 2018, 371 runs scored. That's the second most in program history. Offensively, love the direction they're going. Mm-hmm. Just when you look at those numbers, I know you wanted the 45 and 46 wins. Yes, we all do. But a lot of pride in what you've been able to build, right?
Yeah, I mean, and here's the fun part. It's only been year 2, and that's what I'm really excited about is just – when we took over, they were probably one of the last teams in, and now we're talking about us being a perennial, softball program, and that's why I'm here, and they've bought into it. They know what it looks like, and I'm just excited about our direction.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So what could this team look like? I know there's only so much you can talk about, but tell me some of the returners and what it could look like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have Lefty. I think it begins and ends with her, and so that's going to be a huge part of it. You got to see kind of the Maya Perez that we knew and recruited when she was, 12 years old, it feels like, and so seeing her kind of step up. Obviously, Mac Barber has already on social. That's a done deal. That'll provide us some power. Obviously, we lose quite a bit of power. We have a couple of freshmen coming in that I think are going to be really good. KK Dement being one of them, probably one of the number one shortstops in her class. And then we're pretty busy in that portal right now, so we're hoping to get some arms, a couple more arms to help Kennedy, and then just some more athleticism. I think you really watch Coco and KP and Kramer, their ability to hit the ball, off the wall, chop slap, bunt, run, all of those things. It really plays well in the SEC. So we're gonna have hopefully a total package.
Well, we expect it, and I want to thank you for continuously giving us hope here, because the program is just something that we're all very proud of, and it was an amazing season.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck to the baseball team.
Yes. They Texas deserves one, right?
Oh, I told Slosh, let's get after it. Yeah.
Thank you, Trisha. Appreciate your time. Talk to you soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll hit a break. Coach Henry is in the lobby. We'll talk to him here in a moment. But right now, FBS Appliance, their team of experts are here to help you with appliances that make your house a home. I use them when we moved into our home. They've got great appliances out there to make your life easier, to fit any budget out there. They've been taking care of Texas since 1988, and they have all your trusted brands like Bosch and expert staff, trained installers to guide you through the purchase, because at FBS Appliance, they want to be your trusted store out there. And it just goes beyond the services, right? They don't just offer sales. They have expert installation services carried out by skilled technicians who are factory trained. They want to make sure that it is done the right way, and that's why they've been doing it for such a long time. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. It's FBS at factorybuilderstores.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for our weekly conversation with Pat Henry, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store. Save 10% in the store when you mention the code TexAgs10, and check out that location there at Century Square. We have Coach Henry here in studio. We're wearing matching shirts. Good to see you, sir.
And good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. So I feel like it was a good week, right?
No, this was the first round to advance to the national championships up in Arkansas of the NCAA championships. So, yeah, we advanced 25 athletes, which is a big group. This next round is the finals in Eugene, Oregon, and this one comes down to elites. Who scores? This is the best of the best.
So I know rankings, especially at this point, do not matter.
Yeah.
Just for the audience, so men are at number 5 right now, women at number 6. Yeah. But you do have a lot of success out there. 11 events, 10 individuals, 1 relay. Women qualified for 15 events, 13 individual, 2 relays. So really spread throughout, right?
Yeah, we have a team. We take a good group of people that have advanced in a lot of the events. So. Yeah, we're excited about this opportunity. This is what it's all about. We have some people that have been there, and we're taking some young ones in. So it's exactly the kind of team that I like to have with us.
Can you give us some clarity, or what you can share? I don't even know what you're allowed to share about the Connor Schulman situation.
Yeah, a really unfortunate situation. And we're contesting it with the NCAA right now. Connor is one of the best short hurdlers in the country. And a guy next to him in a lane fell and hit Connor's leg from behind in his lane, in Connor's lane. So he was fouled. Connor couldn't even get over the next hurdle. So the referee ruled on it and wrote it out twice, and then somebody within, and the referee is the last voice. Mm-hmm. She makes the calls. It was a she. Somebody has interfered, and we don't know who it is, and disavowed or said not, instead of he was able to compete in a round that they were going to time him by himself to try to advance, which would have been very difficult. But at least it would have been an opportunity.
Yeah.
But somebody denied it, and that somebody can't do that. That's against the rules. So he wasn't able to run. He wasn't able to do that, and it was a bad situation. So we'll see what the NCAA does, how they correct it. If they don't correct it, it's really, really a bad deal for one of the best athletes in the country.
Why wouldn't they correct it? Like, I'm trying to understand the
thinking
thinking
there. They take
there.
12 people out of the West, there's 12 going, and out of the East, there's 12 going. So there's 24 athletes going in. They have made a steadfast rule. They said that they won't take anybody else other than 12. That's the number that they will take. And they said they couldn't budge. Well, they can.
It was their mistake.
Yeah, and they can, and there's 9 lanes on the straightaway. He runs a straight race, and there'd be eight guys in there, but there's 9 lanes on the straight, so they can put him in there. Let's see. We're just waiting to see what they do.
How's he handling it?
Actually, a lot better than most people would. He's done a real good job. Connor's a very mature kid, but this is a real tragedy for him because, I mean, if you don't do something about this, I mean, you could do something like this on purpose. It wasn't done on purpose, and not have any recourse on it. And this is not good. And so we'll see if the NCAA has any heart to themselves and see if they'll take care of this situation.
Talk to me a little bit about Fayetteville, which I know you have a lot of experience there, but
yeah.
there's a lot of unpredictability when you're there, weather, and just the overall surroundings.
Yeah, actually Fayetteville, those people are nice people, and they have a good facility. They do a good job running the meet, and I enjoy going to Fayetteville. It's It's an environment that they have a good stadium and they had a lot of people there, so it was a good environment.
Yeah, and do you feel like the familiarity there helps your squad?
Well, track's track. I mean, it doesn't make that much difference. No, I think that you couldn't run on the track that many times to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Cam Dixon continues to do big things. Qualified for 4 separate events: the 100, the 200, the 4x100, the 4x400.
Yeah, a little busier than I like to have an athlete on a finals day. She ran the 4x1, she ran the 100, she ran the 200, and then she ran on our 4x4. Not very many times have I had somebody do that, but she has the ability to do it. She's a good athlete, and she's getting better all the time, and getting much better all the time. So Cam's a good athlete. It'd be interesting to see she can get a little bit better at this next round.
So Eric was filling me in on Caden Norris, who was battling the foot injury, yet found a way and missed the entire indoor season.
Yeah, he had a tough time with the indoor season, and he's had a foot injury. It's been something that he's had, but he's overcome it. He's relatively healthy. And he ran 147 and hung right in there and qualified. So that's a great time for him. I think he has the ability to run a little bit faster than that, and he advanced.
How about Lamar Diston? Continues to do what she does.
Yeah. You know, what they do is they jump until there's only 12 left. They pole vault until there's only 12 left. And so the bar doesn't look like it was very high to qualify. It was 6 foot, I think, ½ inch, but 12 ladies cleared that. So that's how they determine who advanced. Same in the half mile. They ran 3 heats after the first round. They ran 48 guys, and then it got down to 24 guys, and then they ran it down to 12 advanced. And so the top 3 in each heat advanced. They didn't run a final at this meet. They took 3 out of each heat, and then the next 3 qualifiers. So they took 12 athletes. And
Leanna Davidson, we know her quite well.
Yeah, she's doing a real good job.
Yeah,
I mean, the javelin is a tough event on your body, and she's stayed healthy. She's trained well. That's the only way she can do that. We lost a javelin thrower that we thought would qualify. But Leanna is doing a really good job. I think she can be very successful.
Sam Whitmarsh.
Yeah, Sam is doing real well. He kind of paced that heat was in. We actually had all 3 guys in the same heat, which doesn't happen very often. And I'm sorry it did until it happened. And then guys worked together, and all 3 qualified. So it worked out good for us.
In a moment, we'll have Nisi here, and I want to talk about her when she's here. But before we do that, there's a lot going on right now. There's the national championship, and oh, by the way, the Olympics are coming soon too. Yeah. Is there a methodology that you all kind of adopt here to be at your best come national championship, but also recognizing the Olympics are not far away?
Yeah, I mean, we have some. You just mentioned one high jumper that will go. That's already qualified. That will go. It's about winning this track meet. It's about, if you're an NCAA athlete, it's about winning this championship and us going there as a team and doing the best we can. And that doesn't hurt your training. In fact, that's a benefit in your training to jump at this time of year. There's lots of time between now and the Olympic Games to recircle the wagons and do what you need to do.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back with Nisi Gabongo here in studio. I don't know why I say it with a Spanish accent. Maybe it's because I speak Spanish. But Gabongo. All right, we'll come back with that when we'll do our track spotlight brought to you by Schulte Roofing. This, though, is brought to you by Brazos Running Company. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Yep.
I love the Mavericks.
It was,
I used to work
wasn't
for
it?
them.
Okay.
Coach Henry's here. We're talking a little bit about the Mavs. And how did we get there? It was because Nisi's from Dallas. That's how. Yep. Welcome into the Track Spotlight, brought to you by Schulte Roofing. Schulte Roofing is an award-winning roofing company built industrially, commercial, residential services in Belleville, Brenham, Bryan-College Station, Conroe, Montgomery, Navasota, San Antonio, the Woodlands, and the surrounding counties. They're home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee, the industry's absolute best roofing system, roof installation warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Or your money back. Nisi Cabongo's here. I didn't do the Spanish one that time.
That's a lot of information.
Quick. It is. Quick, right?
Yeah.
How are you, Nisi?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm reading a little bit about you. I'm seeing all the success you're having. How did you end up at Texas A&M?
Oh, gosh. Honestly, I mean, I was at SFA for 4 years, and it was just kind of my time to go. And I honestly wasn't expecting to come here. Like, this was not, no disrespect, Coach. It wasn't on my list of schools to come on. And then they reached out, and I had a family friend that's already on the team. So I was like, you know what? Let me go out there. And then I came here, and I absolutely fell in love with the team and just everything that they had out here. And now here I am, an Aggie.
And how about the success you're having here and how last week went and hopefully what it looks like here next week?
Yes, sir. Last week went really well for us as a team, and then also for myself, which contributed to how well we did as a team. And I was just really pleased to see the success I've had. It hasn't been an easy season at all, but we've fought through, and now we're here where we're at.
You qualified for 2 events, correct?
Yes, sir.
Coach Henry, talk about her growth and how she ended up here from your perspective.
Yeah, I think we lucked out.
Yeah, you did.
We got her on campus, and you know, one of the things we say about A&M, if you can get them here, we got a good shot. Mm-hmm. And we were fortunate enough to get her on campus, and I think our team did a good job recruiting her.
Yeah.
So, all in all, she's been a great addition for us. She's doing an excellent job. She's a good competitor. She intermediate hurdles. If we get a little bit of better race distribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always coaching.
Yep.
She can be a contender.
Yeah.
You know.
Has this exceeded what your expectations? Like because it's a big decision to transfer, right?
Yeah.
And then everything, all the success that's followed, has it exceeded what you thought?
I think that it has, because honestly, like I said, I wasn't expecting to come to Texas A&M. You know, I grew up in Texas my whole life, so I was kind of like, I don't really want to stay somewhere that's a little bit familiar that I already knew. And I think that the team and the people exceeded my expectations more than all else. Like, it's such a big school, big team. We're in the SEC, so you might think things get a little impersonal, but being on here, it's literally like family. Like, those people that I just met, like, 3 months ago, I'm so close with all of them.
Yeah.
And honestly, just the coaching and everything has been amazing. I couldn't ask for anything better than that. Even down to athletic training staff, like, they do an amazing job taking care of us. The relationships that I built here, like, just very blessed.
Well, I saw it firsthand. You walk in, you see Eric. You didn't know he worked here, and you all exchange pleasantries. Eric, I'm going to let you get some questions in here.
Yeah, hey, Niece. So first of all, congrats on everything.
Thanks.
You know, that's really awesome to see, and good being teammates with you this year. I was doing a little bit of digging, and I saw that you got some range. You've done the 800 meters, you do high jump, you do the intermediate hurdles. You even got a mile time on your tee for
I knew that would come out.
So my question for you is, like, does your ability to do multiple events give you a different level of confidence going into competition?
I first of all disregard the mile, because I'm not doing that again, or the 800 again. So those are just there. But I do think it makes me unique, you know, and also I think a lot of the times people are like, you should be a multi, you should do a multi, do the HEP, and I'm just kind of like, nah, I like the uniqueness that I bring to the table. It also helps me be able to become really adaptable, because if I need to make a split-second decision during a race or something like that, I'm used to being able to switch gears between, like, high jump or the relay or the hurdles. So it's a good little mashup that I have.
Eric, we got about time for one more.
Yeah, so real quick. So first Aggie under Coach Henry, he was telling me to qualify in the high jump and the intermediate hurdles. So PR'd in both events this past weekend. Are you feel like that this is, like, perfect, like you're peaking at the right time and you're ready mentally to go into this race?
Yeah, and I always say, you know, like, God's timing is the best timing, so everything kind of just lined up the way it needs to. We're not done yet. We still have a lot of work to do, kind of like what Coach was saying, but I'm pretty pleased in the direction that we're going, and hopefully we can go to Eugene and score some points for us.
Any final words, Coach Henry?
No, I think this is a good group of people. this is about elite performances, and we're going to have to have people have very good performances to be successful here. But any team that wins this thing has got to be the same. You got to have people that really hit on this date, and that's track. If you can't do it on the date you're supposed to do it, then you can't do it. You know, this is a sport of we work all year long. She's worked all year
for this,
and this 150+ seconds and a higher bar, you know. So it'll be a fun week.
Nisi, congrats, good luck.
Thank you.
Kill it, all right?
Yes, sir.
I mean that in the nice way, by
yes,
the way.
Yes, sir.
And Coach Henry, good luck to you. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you very much.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Ryan Brauninger on a mobile. We'll talk a little recruiting country, get into some baseball with him as well. After that, Kendall Rogers. That and more. It's TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the Bryan-College Station area, the original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch, and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest. You can learn more online at caprockhealthsystem.com. With that, we go to the hotline. Ryan Brauninger joining us this morning on the phone. Bronny, good morning, buddy.
How are you, David? I apologize for not being able to be in today. I got my schedule a little bit misread this week, and we started our 12 baseball summer stuff today. So I'm in Katy for today and tomorrow, and then back in College Station on Friday for all the baseball stuff getting started with the regional.
No problem, Bronny. We actually had, you kind of expected some of these recruiting things to hit over the last week or so, and yesterday we got Tyler Thomas to commit. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was. I've been kind of hitting at it during Recruiting Countries for the last couple of weeks that we thought that there was something kind of brewing, and we knew about Adonis Curry probably, I'd say 7 to 10 days before he went public with it. That was something that had gotten done. Man, I can't even remember where I was. I was at one of the A&M baseball games, but we started hearing that, hey, he's called the coaches and that thing is done and over with. They're just kind of waiting on him to announce. And then the Tyler Thomas stuff was interesting because I think both parties were kind of going through it. Okay, is this when it's going down? Is he going to shut it down? Does Tyler want to be done with his recruiting process? Does A&M want him to be done with his recruiting process? It's kind of the when you look at the offensive line numbers with what A&M's got committed right now, it's something that I'm sure that they were going, okay, like we've liked this kid for a long, long time. He checks a lot of the boxes we're looking for as a member of the team, a part of the locker room. He's got a great ceiling on him. And so I think they were just kind of going through everything along with their numbers, and that kind of came together over the last 5 or 6 days. And I actually talked to Tyler, I believe it was on Saturday morning. I got all of his commitment stuff done. I talked to Coach Snelson at Dickinson, who he is just a fantastic coach and a fantastic dude. And he went on and on about Tyler as a kid and what kind of character he's got. And, we've talked a lot about it, David, there has to be some kind of mesh between quality of player and quality of person when you're trying to change a culture. And that's been something that Mike Elko has not only, talked about a lot on these coaches' night circuits or in front of the media in Destin yesterday, but he's actually gone out and tried to implement it in the spring, and now he's trying to do it through recruiting. So it's definitely one of these actions that's at the forefront of his mind is we have to find the right players and the right humans to come into this program. And, by all accounts, Tyler Thomas certainly fits that bill.
So when you were alluding to, I think it was Monday, you're like, we're watching something. Is this what you were watching?
That was a couple of weeks ago. It was Adonis Curry. And then it was shortly after Adonis Curry's, like, I think right after he went public, it's like we got the heads up that Tyler Thomas is, it won't be far behind Curry. So, yeah, when I was hinting that something might be happening, I was just thinking Curry. And then, obviously, with Thomas being on the heels of that, it made me look a lot smarter than I am.
So let's talk about those two additions here in the last week or so, and less than a week, I should say, and just, how that, I guess, strengthens a already pretty nice class.
Well, when you look at Adonis Curry, he fits the same mold for what they've got committed in the secondary in terms of athleticism. Like all of these kids that they've got committed, whether they're corners, nickels, or safeties, they can all really run. And I think that has obviously an attribute that Mike Elko and his staff have wanted to add into their roster through recruiting is speed on the back end. And Adonis Curry, he's longer than all of them. Jamar Bill Goins, Dejan Petaway, these guys are a little bit smaller. I say smaller. Kobe Sellers, they're like 5'11", 6 foot. Adonis Curry is going to be more built like Jalen Jones. Now, he's not as thick as Jalen was coming out, but he's going to be built in that 6'2", 6'3" range. But Adonis Curry still owns some pretty impressive track times this spring as well. And you get him as one of the top corners in the state of California, one of the top overall defensive prospects in the state of California. That should be viewed as a big recruiting win, both in terms of how it was perceived nationally and then what kind of player he is as well. Like, I think that there's a clear goal to recruit speed in the secondary in this cycle, and they've done that in a big way. And so now I think you go get best available to fill out whatever remaining spots you have on the back end of the defense. Like, I don't think there's not an athletic, specific athletic attribute that you're looking for. You're going to go add the best players you can now. And obviously Jonah Williams is a big target there at safety. And then on the offensive line, look, Tyler Thomas, what's going to jump out about him is that in a room full of big dudes, or even in a camp setting where he's amongst a lot of big offensive linemen, his mass and his size stand out. And he's 6'5", 320, but a lot of these young offensive linemen, they carry their weight differently. Tyler's is very evenly distributed. Like, he already looks like an SEC offensive lineman because he's thick through his shoulders and his chest and his legs and his hips. And then you look at his hand size and his forearm size, like, he's just a big dude. And you have to love his power potential to go along with his athleticism and wingspan. This is a kid that's got a more extensive background in basketball than I thought that I knew about. In talking to Coach Nelson, Tyler viewed himself as a basketball player for the longest time until he just got too big and too broad to remain as a basketball prospect. But, he's so light on his feet. He's got a great wingspan. He's got some positional versatility, much like Marcus Garcia. Very different players, very different body styles and body shapes, but they both offer a lot of versatility for what they could do going forward. And he also, this doesn't take away any fervor that A&M has to recruit guys like Lamont Rodgers, Ty Haywood, and Michael Fasusi, those elite tackle prospects in Dallas. So I think one of the things that the coaching staff was looking through is, okay, like, how are we going to be on numbers? They've obviously gone through that, and they're like, okay, we're good on numbers. We really like the overall potential and ceiling of Tyler Thomas. We think he's a great character fit. Let's go ahead and make this move, get him locked up. And much like in the secondary, now at offensive line, you can go big game hunting for those elite tackles in Dallas.
Talking to Ryan Brauninger on the hotline here on TexAgs Radio. So I'm looking at the offensive line overall, though, Bronny. 5 guys committed to this class. How much bigger can it get when it comes to the offensive line?
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying it could go to 7. And with all the changes in college sports right now and, how scholarships are doled out, NIL, like what's coming with all that, I think you figure out roster numbers down the road. I mean, these rosters now are so fluid. What does your offensive line room look like right now? Well, and then what would it look like in this coming offseason with these additions? That's something that they're obviously keeping track of, but it's so fluid. You don't know how many guys that are going to be on your roster this fall or how many are going to be there the next spring. So I think it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. It's getting a lot harder to pin down class sizes because of that. But, it all comes down to how many scholarships you have available. There's no limit on how many kids you can take anymore. And I think it's wise and it's prudent to be proactive in spots that you think need to really be helped from the high school ranks. And, A&M's certainly done that on the offensive line. I could see them continue to do that in the secondary.
How's Adam Cushing being received there on the recruiting trail?
He's very highly thought of. What's funny is, the responses that we get about Coach Cushing, they're so consistent. The kids seem to really, really like the way he kind of critiques their game. He goes in and sits down with them, and they watch film. And it's not, I shouldn't say critique. He analyzes them in front of, one-on-one, and they talk about some stuff that they do well, some stuff that they do not so well. and all these kids talk about how good of a teacher he is. And that's current offensive lineman on the roster, and that's the kids that he's recruiting. They really like his ability to verbalize what he wants, his expectations, and then teach the actual game, teach the technique, teach the schemes. I think that's a breath of fresh air for a lot of the kids in the current offensive line room, but it's been a really consistent theme of the offensive lineman that we've talked to about him on the recruiting side. Like he wants to teach offensive line play, and I don't know how much of a yeller and screamer he is in practice. I don't know that matters much whenever you are that intent on being a teaching technician.
I'm looking through this commitment list, and I'm not seeing any wide receivers. I got to assume that's the next phase, next evolution of this recruiting class.
Yeah, there are a lot of positions, right? Like, they got to do something at wide receiver. They got to do something at running back. D-line has still got a couple of big-time targets out there. Like, the fun thing about this is kind of taking off here before the summer starts with official visits getting to ramp up. But there's still so much intrigue at a wide array of positions that there's legitimately top talented guys from all over the country that are in on those spots. And so to see how the chips fall throughout the summers after these official visits as we get ready for fall camp, I do anticipate some sort of end of the summer big recruiting event. Jimbo Fisher had the pool party, and that was highly successful. It's something that I'd be very interested to see if Mike Elko and company continue. I don't know if it's going to be verbatim exactly like the way Jimbo had the pool party set up, but I think we're going to see something similar. And why wouldn't you? But as much as we know about this class, which is a good thing and a fun thing, there's even more intrigue about what could happen through this summer at positions like receiver, where you're battling some of the top regional programs for guys like Khalik Lockett and Emmanuel Choice and Kelshawn Johnson. And then you look at tight end, where does it go with Lincoln Cure or Nicholas Townsend, Keati Armstrong? There's top-end players that have A&M right in the mix amongst their top schools, and there's still things keeping, within reason. What I mean within reason, like within those list of top schools, the Aggies are amongst, like, the heavyweight boxers throwing punches in those. So I'm super excited to see how they kind of maneuver throughout the summer. If you look at what Mike Elko did at Duke, he did a lot of the work for his recruiting classes. Like, a lot of them were done by the time fall camp started in August. We'll see if that continues here at A&M. It certainly seems like it now, as you've watched the class grow through the spring. There's certainly an avenue where they could get a lot of the hay in the barn before they even start snapping footballs over there.
And when you do that, Bronny, it still leaves you room for an addition like of a no-brainer, right? Like, just because you have the bulk of your class done, you're still going to leave some room for the guys that you think could be a game breaker for you.
Oh, without question. And, again, that goes back to what I said about what are class sizes anymore. Like, are you ever going to tell, if you take 3 or 4 receivers and one of them is not Khalik Lockett, but in November, Khalik Lockett says, man, I really want to come play A&M. You're not going to tell him no. And you just kind of figure it out on the back end. You figure it out after the fall's over with if you need, roster stuff. It's just, that's the reality of the college football world we're living in right now. But, yeah, what have we learned about this organization that Mike Elko has set up is that they leave no stone unturned, and they're going to be aggressive to fill roster needs and acquire talent by whatever means necessary. If that's portal, if it's high school, if it's player retention, if it's allowing certain players to leave without much of a fight, like they have been on top of all this since they've arrived.
We know that Jimbo is an elite recruiter. His staff did an amazing job getting talent here. Sometimes I don't know if they got talent in all the areas that they needed to. I feel like Coach Elko's philosophy is to get them a little bit more across the board. Is that a fair assessment, Bronny?
I mean, it's still early to make overarching, long-term analysis on how they're doing in recruiting. All I can say is that, like, again, it goes back to what does a player want out of a college football experience, and then how much of I wonder this. This is something that I'm sure it comes up not only at Texas A&M but programs across the country, is when these kids walk in and they meet with coaches one-on-one, if the first conversation that they want to have is about NIL and how much money they can make, does that raise red flags, or is that just status quo right now? And I think that's something that you have to balance is, with what A&M has gone through on that front. Like, NIL is certainly a part of the conversation, but can it be the leading part of the conversation? I don't know that. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong if kids are doing that and parents are doing that. There's certainly a side of me that understands this window for NIL as we see it right now may be closing. Don't you want to try to capitalize on it while it's still here? But again, if you're trying to build a roster and you're trying to build a locker room and some team cohesion, where is the line drawn for all that? That's something that I guess you'd have to ask Coach Elko. And I don't even know, or you could ask Kirby Smart, you could ask Kalen DeBoer now of the differences between Washington and Alabama. You could ask Brian Kelly. All these coaches, I'm sure, have similar but maybe differentiating takes in the minutia of how important those conversations are and when and where are they supposed to happen. So it's still too early for me to go, okay, yes, Mike Elko they're doing this way, way different than Jimbo Fisher for as a long-term analysis of his recruiting. What I can say is the stuff we've said since he's gotten here in November, December. Super organized, great structure, really efficient. Communication lines have been way more consistent than under the previous staff. You don't feel like there's coaches that are off doing their own thing. It's just a more cohesive unit on the recruiting front. And that's something that I can't imagine why it would change. So that would probably a short-term difference that will turn into a long-term difference.
All right, Brian, we'll come back with more. I want to ask you about camps beginning this weekend on the other side, plus some other skill position questions for you. It is Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. When we come back, more of Bronny. Right now, though, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, I would suggest you start your search there at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. You start there so you can see the vehicles that they have. And then when you're ready to start, whatever process or whatever phase you're in of buying a vehicle. For me, it takes forever, right? Because I'm just so indecisive. But maybe you're quick. Maybe you take your time. Just go there to the lot, and you're going to see the awesome selection of vehicles that they have. You're going to be blown away by the customer service. More on that in a moment. You're going to love the pricing that they have. And then, of course, the trade-in value. You're looking to trade in your car? Go there. I think you're going to be very happy with the trade-in value that they give. Now, back to that customer service. That is during the process and after the process. They have complimentary pickup and delivery for all of their service customers. They are the place to go in the Brazos Valley. Really, if you're listening to this show anywhere, I don't care if you're in Kazakhstan, come to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. 15-minute drive, the end of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. We're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. If you have some questions for Bronny, send them in at 979-693-1150. We go back to the hotline. We are rejoined by Ryan Brauninger. Ryan, we talked about skill positions in the last segment, but I did want to ask about running back in particular. Obviously, we have DeAndre Ridden there, but are there other targets you could see A&M, seizing the day, if you will? I don't hear Bronny.
Oh, sorry. I had you muted. I was moving around, so I didn't want to sound like somebody when they call in on the radio. So I'll just leave it. No, I think with running back, they could take another one, but it's going to be interesting to see. Like, they have their guy. Like, they wanted Tiger Ryden. That was their number one target. They got him done. It was a huge recruiting win. It was a hugely influential win in Dallas. They got that one done. So I think what they'll do, they were still recruiting guys like James Simon out of Shreveport, the Cunningham kid out of California. There are some still big-time targets out there. I just don't know that, like, they're going to be in a huge rush to get one over with and back another one in the boat unless unless one of these other top targets calls and says, hey, I'm ready to shut this down. Like, that's a position where they can do more evals, especially in-state evals if they want, to try to find, maybe some kid with a different skill set than what they've got on the roster or what they've got with Tiger.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about camp season. It's beginning. It's busy time now. What do you expect to see over the next, I don't know. Well, let's just talk about this weekend in particular.
Yeah, so they'll start on Saturday. The camps will start, and then they kind of run through a lot of June. One thing that's going to be different is just the timing of them. Under Jimbo Fisher, they would start them in the morning, and then they would kind of just run back-to-back throughout the middle of the day, and it would be pretty stinking hot. Now it looks like they're going to be different times. They're going to be a little bit later in the evening. I know that this first one coming up on Saturday, it's supposed to start at like 5:30 in the evening. So I think that's going to be one major difference between that a lot of folks will be able to see ahead of time. Obviously when the camps start, evaluating and kind of going over and analyzing how they're run will be another kind of interesting factor, because we know how much emphasis those camps had and how valued they were under Jimbo Fisher. And I thought Jason did a great job in his article this week of highlighting some of those names that we've seen come through the camps, earn offers, and in Layton Robinson and Nia Smith are now on to NFL careers after coming to camp in College Station and earning offers from Texas A&M and obviously having good careers there. But what type of targets are the staff looking to get in? How the camps are structured, I think, is going to be very interesting. The last staff, they essentially put every camper through a fourth quarter drill, which is all of their conditioning work, summer conditioning workouts. They put the kids through those before they even did any football things. And there was some good and bad to that, I thought. You get to see how kids push themselves, how many of them quit, what kind of competitive spirit do they have when they're tired. But then again, it would make some of the evals tough because you're just completely sapping their energy in 100-degree heat to start the day. And then so when they go to position drills or actual football stuff, they're probably overall performance is taking a tick down. And so how accurate of an eval are you actually going to get? So there were some positives and negatives to that. So we'll see how Coach Elko and his staff structure these camps to, both be able to coach the kids really hard, see how they respond to coaching, but also make sure that they're getting the proper evals done.
Bronny, how busy is your Saturday going to be? Because camp season and also baseball.
Yeah, it's kind of part and parcel of the job that I do this time of year. Like I said, I'm in Katy today for 12 baseball stuff, and we'll be tomorrow back in College Station for Aggie baseball this weekend and Aggie football and recruiting. And it's just kind of what it is. So I don't know how to not do it at this point. I've been with TexAgs for probably 8-9 years now, and I've been with 12 baseball since 2010, and I've been covering Aggie baseball this whole time. And so, yeah, it's just kind of it's the job, and I'll never complain about it because I'm completely and utterly blessed, and so are you, to be sitting here talking to people about sports for a living.
Yeah, we have it great, Bronny. So now that you've had a couple days to kind of, and we'll do a lot more of this on Friday, but just here in the closing minutes of the segment, you've had a couple of minutes to kind of digest the regional. Just some thoughts on all three teams coming in here.
Yeah, I think the more that I've been able to dive into Lafayette, Texas, and Grambling, it just kind of furthers what I thought A&M was going to get in terms of the matchups. All very, very different. It'll be interesting to see, again, how Friday is pitched for the Aggies. You'd hope that the bats come out and swing the way they can, that you don't have to burn through any of the highly valuable bullpen pieces. But I think even more intriguing is who gets the start, who gets the ball against Grambling on Friday afternoon. But, for Louisiana Lafayette, man, the pitching is pretty remarkable. And I got to do a little bit of a deeper dive on LP Langevin, their remarkable closer who's got 100 strikeouts on the season. I was talking with some area scouts who have seen him throw recently. They said it's the best fastball in college baseball this year. Mm-hmm. His whiff rate on his fastball is higher than Hagen Smith. It's got better run. It's got better ride. I can't remember the exact percentage I was told, but like the swing and miss rate on his fastball is just incredible. And that's a kid that if Louisiana Lafayette can get you to the 7th, 8th inning with a lead, it's like good luck because they're going to roll him out there in any high leverage situation. And he's been super successful, especially as of late. And the pro scouts have really kind of latched on to this kid. So I think that in my research so far, that has been the most eye-popping thing. And then listening to people talk about how this kid's stuff presents to hitters has been more eye-opening than I thought. So I think that Friday night game between Texas and Louisiana is super interesting because it's such a contrast of styles.
Great work, Bronny. We'll see you here on the Baseball Bunch on Friday.
Thank you.
Later, man. Ryan Brauninger there on the hotline. Cap Rock Health System bringing you Recruiting Country. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more pelota, baseball. We'll have Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball on the program. Right now, Rollo Insurance, they are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. They're my guys, right? They're just such a great group. They're here in College Station. We'll get more on that in a moment. But that's who I use for my insurance, and you should too. And there's a couple reasons for it. I've told you this on other spots, it's the truth. I don't like to be sold to, right? I just want to get, what's the best situation for my family? Can we move on? Boom. That's what they do there. They're good guys that you see all around the community, and they take care of their customers. And they're just real passionate about helping folks here in the Brazos Valley and beyond. That's why they're all over the place. 53 offices here in Texas, but beyond that, they're all over the country. But right here, their headquarters on Highway 6. They want to take care of you. They love Aggie athletics. They love being a part of this community. And I use them because they get me in the best situation. With my kids that are about to start driving, put me in the best possible situation. That I can guarantee when you go to Rollo Insurance. Remember, the difference is real. 888-44-ROLLO or go to RolloInsurance.com. That is 888-44-ROLLO or go to RolloInsurance.com. Was really hoping for some polka music. That's all right. We'll get it later. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. D1 Baseball's Kendall Rogers is with us here on the program. Kendall, good morning, buddy. How are you, bud?
I'm hanging in there. The long week of conference tournaments, but it's kind of funny. The college baseball season's a really long season, it feels like. But it feels like once you get to regional week, it's all downhill from there in terms of just the craziness and things like that and being crazy busy. So I'm looking forward to the weekend, assuming rain holds in College Station, which I'm not real confident of at this point.
So how do you take in all the games all going on at the same time? Like, it's a different vibe than basketball, right? Like, so how are you absorbing all the information happening at the same time?
Yeah, so what I typically do, I'll have a game up on my laptop, and I'll have, Runes and those guys up on Bases Loaded or whatever on my iPad. So, if something breaks, there's a big moment, I can tune into that and switch my AirPods over to that and then continue watching the game I'm watching, in addition to the game I'm actually at. So it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah.
I think, was it 2 years ago, when Arkansas played Oklahoma State in Stillwater, I think it was 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure that there were 3 or 4 walk-offs at one time, and I remember it was just like adrenaline overload following all those games at once.
So I'm watching, you brought up the weather, and it got me to think, you're right, man. Looking at today, 45% chance of rain. Tomorrow, 55, 65 Friday, 50% Saturday, 40% Sunday. When are they going to get these games in, man? What do they do in that situation?
Well, I told somebody this earlier today that this is the situation where, you're really glad you have the early game because, if you're A&M, you're going to get the early game in at some point. The second game, if you're Jim Sausigle, you're hoping the second game has a bunch of rain, so they're having to play that game at, 11 o'clock at night. So, I think it favors the host, assuming they play the early game. But, I'll say this. If Nick and those guys can get that field ready for that Arkansas game, this ain't nothing.
That's true. Talking to Kendall Rogers here, D1 Baseball. So let's talk about your thoughts on the regional. Kind of played out the way you thought it would. Texas coming in as the 3, Louisiana there at the 2, Grambling State. Your thoughts overall on the competition coming to College Station?
Yeah, I think Louisiana to me is the most dangerous team outside of A&M in this regional. I think when you look at the Cajuns, they can match up with you a little bit pitching wise. Andrew Herman, Chase Morgan's a really talented freshman out of Cyprus. Then LP Longvin on the back end of the bullpen is one of the top relievers. Honestly, maybe the best reliever in the country outside of back. And he's a really electric arm. He's a guy they're probably going to have to use, I would think, against Texas in the opening game. Kyle DeBarge this weekend, the big key for the Ags or the Horns for that matter, to keep him from getting red hot for the Cajuns. The best shortstop in the country, just a really exceptional player. Texas, for me, I think they're one of those teams. I think their offense matches up well with Bluebell. I really like what they have at the top of the lineup with Jalen Flores, Max Ballou, Jared Thomas. I love their lineup. What I don't love is their pitching. I think Texas, for them to find a way to win this regional, they're going to have to get some Herculean performances out of Max Grubbs and, Ace Whitehead. You're talking about a guy going against A&M that tops out at 86. On one hand, the Ags don't see that very often. On the other, your margin for error when your velocity is around there is very, very little. So I just don't think Texas has the pitching to get through this. With that said, there's been plenty of times for 2 decades where I thought Texas couldn't get out of a regional or couldn't win a super, and they won it. So, Texas historically tends to play pretty well in a regional. So there is that caveat. And then the one thing I will say for A&M is I think A&M fans will look at Texas and look at Louisiana and go, oh, man, we got a little bit of a tough regional. But I feel like A&M got the weakest 4th seed in the field. If you go look at Grambling's results, especially non-conference, to say the least, they're not very good. And so I think the dilemma for Jim Sausigle here, and this is what gives A&M such a massive advantage in this regional, is I honestly think, and I don't think he's going to do this, I think Tanner Jones or somebody like that is more likely, but he could probably get away with throwing a Caden Wilson or something against Grambling and win. The problem, what you don't want to do is throw a Caden Wilson or something against Grambling and have to use Evan in the first game because you get in a little bit of trouble in the middle innings. So my guess is they'll go with a guy like Jones or something, but you really have the flexibility for A&M to kind of throw, probably was kind of
your bottom tier relievers in this game and not use any of your studs.
Well, and let's kind of take that a step further. The fact that Texas and Louisiana are going to have to use their studs, right? I know Louisiana's got a deeper pin, but how that bodes well for Game 2 if A&M can escape Grambling. I say escape, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Prager, I mean, the odds are that he's going to throw really well at home. Obviously, I think A&M knocks the cover off the ball in the first 2 rounds. Is supposed to, the last 3 weeks they have not been very good offensively. Everybody's talking about, teams have figured them out, and I just have a weird feeling, man. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me, again, this team went on in the national championship, so it's kind of it's kind of a lofty comp. But thinking back to LSU last year, go look at what LSU did at the end of the season last year, and their last 10 or 12 games, I mean, they weren't very good. They struggled. And I just kind of feel like A&M's on that same path. Like, they're just a team who scuffled, kind of ran out of gas a little bit in the regular season. Now they can recalibrate themselves and potentially go on a run like LSU did. So we'll see if they can do that.
Well, let's talk about that, because if A&M did hit a rough patch, and they did, part of that is because they saw nothing but aces for the most part, right? Like, they did great against Arkansas, winning the series at least, but they took on the best pitching staff. On the road at LSU, LSU was playing at a high level. During the Hoover series, obviously, the SEC tournament, taking on nothing but aces. So when you think of it that way, they're not going to face nothing but aces here moving forward, and they're at home where they're pretty close to unbeatable.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the other thing too, and I think Jen made this comment at the SEC tournament last week, is we talk about how the offense is struggling, and they still not only took 2 out of 3 from Arkansas, but run ruled in one of the games. So I mean, if your low point for your offense is run ruling on one of the games, you're a pretty good club. So I think just going to the weekend is a big take for A&M, just kind of get back to their identity a little bit. I would expect them to be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like A&M over the last 3 weeks. And I get it's part of, Coach Early's MO, but, I feel like over the last few weeks, they've taken a lot of pitches, and pitchers are throwing a lot of strikes. And when you get down 0-2 and counts over and over and over, man, it's difficult. It's really difficult to work, work walks, get some hits and things like that. But, again, I don't have any concerns about them being at home. And, frankly, I get that, there's fans, A&M and Texas both, that are like, let's face it, they're terrified to get knocked out by their rival. I think getting Texas in their regional is a good thing for A&M, because I think there's no better way to get A&M locked in than the idea of losing to Texas to end their season.
Well, is this the same Texas team that they faced at the beginning of the year? Because you see all the success they had in the Big 12, yet I don't know, man. I look at the non-conference and I wonder.
I think Texas is better offensively than they were then. I think Texas is probably the same team or worse than they were on the mound. I mean, give Max Grubbs and give Ace Whitehead a lot of credit, man. They've overachieved this year. Andre DePontier has thrown really well for them the last few weeks. But, LeBaron Johnson was supposed to be a really high-level guy this year. His strike throwing rate is about 40%, not very good. So, I mean, if he has to throw against A&M, I don't like your chances of a guy that throws strikes 40% of the time. So, again, for Texas to get out of this regional and beat A&M twice, I mean, they're going to have to play well above where they've played all year long, because I think we're going to find out this weekend that the Big 12 is just not very good.
Yeah, talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio. So what do you think is a key or two for A&M to move on? And I do want to follow up with what could happen after the regional, but let's start off with there. What are the keys? Is it, is it lineup just being great 1 through 9, the bottom of the lineup? Is it, taking more pitches? What do you think is really some key points this weekend?
Yeah, I think for me it's Jason Braden Montgomery. I mean, Braden, hit a couple of home runs in the SEC tournament, but he didn't look ultra confident. Always worry about guys whenever they strike out or something and they walk to the dugout, and you can just see them talking to themselves a little bit. For Braden, it's just relax, man. It's the postseason, it's Bluebell Park, have some fun. I think if him and Lavalette are dialed back in a little bit, and, those guys can be a little streaky, but both of them, I felt like the last 3 weeks weren't at their absolute best. I think if they're dialed back in, I think A&M rolls in this thing. The other thing for me would be just the starting pitching. Prager has been pretty consistent overall, but really outside of Ryan and outside of today over the last couple of weeks, pitching's been a little erratic at times. So I just think getting all that back on track, sets them up pretty well. Again, I think A&M is one of those teams that they're going to be really hard to beat in the Super, but the pitching staff at least leaves a little glimmer of hope for teams in a regional.
Yeah, I feel that. So let's just look ahead if it's possible. And I hate doing this, but I'm a talk show host. I don't play for the team. I'm allowed to. I like.
Yeah, so I'm going to be mad at you.
Well, I'm just saying, if whoever gets out of this regional,
I'm messing with you.
I like the pairing with the Santa Barbara regional. Do you agree?
I agree. Again, I go back to what I said a minute ago. Like getting the Cajuns and getting the Horns is not optimal, but you get Grambling as your 4 and you go through one of the California schools or Oregon to get to Omaha. And I really like your chances to continue those teams. I do think UCSB is good. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a really nice ace in Mike Gutierrez. Andrew Checkett does an unbelievable job. But there's a big difference for your players between playing all your series at Long Beach State and Cal State Northridge than going to College Station when it's 98 degrees for a super regional. That's a much different animal. And we say, well, hey, these guys are, these teams are older. They know how to handle that. But let's not forget. Let's think of how A&M played in the opening game against LSU and Baton Rouge, and how kind of deer in the headlights guys like Grahovic kind of looked, just because they had never experienced that, right? It's not like they were scared or anything like that. They had never experienced a hostile atmosphere. And I just wonder about these West Coast teams going to A&M next weekend potentially and just dealing with the heat and dealing with just a raucous crowd. They don't ever see those things.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here. Who's got the hardest regional, in your opinion?
I would say Oklahoma. I really like UConn, and I really, really like Duke. I got Duke getting a super and losing to Florida State. I think the Blue Devils are playing there really well. They're going to have a chip on their shoulder after not getting a host. 20 ACC wins, top 17 RPI, still didn't host. And I'll be really honest with you, I thought Tennessee had somewhat of a tough draw. I mean, Indiana's been red hot down the stretch. Southern Miss, let's not forget they played them in a super last year. Southern Miss is going to be ready for Tennessee. And they're going to be well acquainted with them. And so I think that's a tough draw. Christian Austin does a great job down in Hattiesburg. Then if you win that, you've got to get through potentially East Carolina or, oh, by the way, Chase Burns, your former ace, in Wake Forest. So I thought Tennessee for a 1 seed got an incredibly difficult draw.
Hey, and let's close out with Tennessee just in general, because what I've seen from them all year, they are worthy of being the top team of the country. How much do you think it'll have an effect that they went all in for the SEC tournament, though?
We'll find out, right? I mean, history suggests that both of the SEC tournament struggle the next weekend, and we'll see if that continues. I will say this. I mean, they went all in, but they also, I didn't feel like exhausted guys. Like they took, their starters out after 50, 60 pitches for the most part. They threw a lot of guys. They had a very business-like approach. That's one thing I like about the Vols is, they're not a loud team like they historically are with under Tony Vitello, but they had a very pro-business-like approach, and that's why I really like to see in the postseason, as a matter of fact. I've got Tennessee, sorry guys, beating A&M in the National Championship Series.
Wow. Those two teams meeting, that'd be great to see. Not lose, by the way. Great to see us play them in the champ. Actually, you know what? I prefer A&M to not play an SEC team and just win. Whatever the easiest path. Just give me the easiest path. That's because I can't handle the stress, Kendall. I just can't. I suck at it.
Yeah, A&M and Tennessee, you need to have a couple of adult beverages in the stands to calm your nerves a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's hope we get there and then take it. Kendall, thanks for your time, buddy. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, Nuño. See you this weekend, bud.
See you, man. Kendall Rogers there on the hotline. By the way, game is at noon on Friday. If they win, if they win, hopefully they will play then Saturday night at 8 o'clock. So just consider that with the weather, things could get shifted, but just consider that here for a moment. All right, when we come back on TexAgs Radio, one final segment. I'm sure Eric Casares has got something to think about. We'll get into that and some final text messages. Is TexAgs Radio. Music to my ears. Thank you so much, Brian Broadcasting. It's time to end the day with Double Daves. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. You know what we're going to do? I think you know. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggieland since 1984. Your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. I'm just going to do this because he's not expecting it. Nick Savage, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, David. How are you?
Good. Just any closing thoughts for the show today?
No, polka music banger. Pretty good.
We didn't get Russian pop. That'll be tomorrow.
Russian pop. That's your second favorite genre?
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely there. And, a little opera. My mom did sing in the Houston Grand Opera back in the day. So
that's cool.
Big opera fan. I can hit the high notes or the whatever they call it.
Let's hear it.
No, not right now.
No, it's vibrato is the shaking of your voice.
And by the way, has Luke Evangelist posted what he did yet?
Yeah. And it's already been taken down though. It's not a good idea. It was a bad idea. I could have told you all that from a mile away, but
they made David Nuño look fat. Why am I talking like that? But they did. They made me look fat. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric Casares. Eric, buddy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so Matt in San Antonio, going back to what you and Obi were talking about with ranking college head coaches, he said, do you think who I would hire for my team tomorrow is a good way to rank head coaches? It would mix both overall resumes and recency.
I think that's sure. Look, here's the thing about rankings. Everybody's got their own perspective, their own view, right? Their own way to break things down. For me personally, would I consider that as one of my criteria? Sure. I would look at recent body of work, overall body of work, and then try to gauge where they're trending, right? If in 1 year, like if you've had one really good year, but most of your career you haven't been that good, I don't know if I'm going to give you the bump up that maybe others would give you, but you definitely get a bump up for having a good year. If you've had 2-3 straight years of being bad, but you're a national championship head coach, do you drop in the list? You better. It was hard for me to admit that about the prior regime, but sure, that would be part of it, right? So everybody takes their own criteria and they kind of massage it to work the way they want it to do. That's why we have rankings. And when we do 24 and 24 here soon, which, by the way, we need to start planning that. When we do that, I have a list of criteria that I personally use, and I kind of grade people based on a certain thing. Olin uses his eyeball test. Billy has his own assessment. So, there's different ways to kind of come up with it. But sure, would I hire this person? Would I make this guy my coach tomorrow? Sure. And it's hard to sometimes not go with what, your maroon goggles tell you on certain things, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
This is TexAgs Radio.
And I did respond to him saying, I think sample size is more important than recency sometimes. So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have a show. We'll see you then. Bye.